Here's why Aemond let Luke die at Storm's End. Welcome to the channel. Subscribe if you love House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, and deep dives into Westerosi lore. Let's begin. In the swirling chaos of the Dance of the Dragons, there are moments that define not only the fate of kingdoms, but the souls of the men and women who wage war for the Iron Throne. One such moment came during the fateful storm above Shipbreaker Bay, a clash between two young dragonriders that would forever change the course of history. Aemond Targaryen, the fierce, one-eyed prince, mounted upon the monstrous Vhagar, chased down Lucerys Velaryon, the young heir of Driftmark, who rode his smaller but swift dragon, Arrax. What happened that night has been the subject of debate for centuries. Did Aemond intend to kill Luke? Or was it an accident born of pride, fear, and the uncontrollable fury of dragons? In this video, we will unravel the truth. We'll explore Aemond's motives, his inner conflict, his rivalry with Luke, and the political weight behind that fateful encounter. By the end, you'll understand why Aemond let Luke die at Storm's End, and why it was a point of no return for House Targaryen. The brothers turned enemies. To understand why Aemond pursued Luke, we must begin with the bitter history between them. Aemond Targaryen was born a prince of fire and blood, but from an early age, he lived in the shadow of his older brother Aegon and was mocked relentlessly for his lack of a dragon. As a boy, he was called Aemond the Eyeless and Aemond the Craven by his nephews Jace and Luke Velaryon. It was this humiliation that drove Aemond to claim the mightiest living dragon, Vhagar, the ancient she-dragon of Visenya Targaryen. But that triumph came with a cost. On the night Aemond claimed Vhagar, young Luke Velaryon sliced his uncle's eye out during a bloody brawl. From that moment, a rivalry was born that was soaked in blood and vengeance. Aemond would forever be known as Aemond One Eye and Luke. Luke became a living reminder of the scar that defined him. Aemond swore he would one day have Luke's eye in return, but years passed, and those words festered into something darker. By the time the Dance of the Dragons erupted, their feud was no longer just personal, it was political, and that made their collision inevitable. The Storm's End mission. As the war for the Iron Throne began, Rhaenyra Targaryen sent her sons Jacaerys and Lucerys on diplomatic missions to secure support from the great lords of Westeros. Luke was sent to Storm's End to treat with Lord Boros Baratheon, hoping to win him for Queen Rhaenyra. But when Luke arrived, he found Aemond already there. Aemond, representing King Aegon II and the Greens, was not just early. He was determined to humiliate Luke. Before the Baratheon court, Aemond called him Lord Strong, mocking his supposed bastardy. Then he demanded that Luke give him his eye as payment for their childhood feud. Luke, bound by his mother's orders not to fight, refused. Instead, he left Storm's End to return home. But Aemond followed. It was no longer just about politics. For Aemond, this was vengeance, and vengeance does not wait. The hunt above Shipbreaker Bay. The storm that raged above Shipbreaker Bay was more than just weather. It was a reflection of Aemond's fury. Mounted on Vhagar, the largest dragon alive, Aemond had every advantage over Luke and his smaller dragon, Arrax. He could have turned back. He could have let Luke live. But he didn't. Aemond chased him into the heart of the tempest. Witnesses say the sky roared with dragon fire, lightning, and the clash of wings. Aemond's laughter, cold and sharp, echoed above the storm as he toyed with his prey. At first, it was only intimidation. He wanted Luke to fear him. He wanted him to remember who he was facing, not just a prince, but a hunter who had waited years for this moment. But dragons are not toys. Vhagar was not some tame beast. She was the fury of old Valyria, and when Arrax dared strike her with a burst of dragon fire, Vhagar's ancient rage awakened. And in that instant, Aemond lost control. Was it murder or an accident? Here lies the heart of the debate. Did Aemond kill Luke intentionally? Some argue yes. They claim Aemond's hatred for Luke burned so deep that, the moment the storm swallowed them, he gave in to his bloodlust. He wanted Luke dead. He wanted vengeance for his eye. He wanted to silence the mockery forever. Others, however, believe Aemond never meant to kill his nephew. His actions, they say, were reckless but not murderous. He wanted to scare Luke, humiliate him, maybe even force him to yield. But when Vhagar acted, it was instinct, not command. Even George R.R. Martin himself leaves this question open, hinting that Aemond may have shouted for Vhagar to stop. Too late for the boy and his dragon. But whether Aemond willed it or not, the result was the same. Vhagar struck. Her jaws closed around Arrax and Luke, shattering them in a single, brutal instant. Their bodies fell into the raging sea, never to rise again. And Aemond, sitting astride his monstrous dragon, was left staring into the storm, knowing what he had done. Why Aemond did not stop it. Now, let's answer the question, why did Aemond let it happen? The truth lies in Aemond's character, his pride, his anger, and his need for vengeance. Even if he did not intend for Luke to die in that exact moment, he never truly regretted it. Aemond believed in strength, and in that fatal clash, strength had triumphed. Luke had been weak. Arrax had been small. The world belonged to those who dared take it. To Aemond, letting Luke live would have been mercy. And mercy was something Aemond One-Eye did not understand. He let Luke die because, deep down, he wanted him to die. Maybe not that day. Maybe not that way. But the moment it happened, Aemond accepted it. And in doing so, he crossed a line that could never be undone. The political consequences. Luke's death was not just personal. It was political devastation for the Black faction. When news of Luke's death reached Dragonstone, Rhaenyra was shattered. Her grief turned to rage. She no longer sought negotiation. She sought vengeance. An eye for an eye, a son for a son. Those words would mark the next stage of the Dance of the Dragons. Luke's death ignited a wildfire of bloodshed. The war escalated, and there would be no turning back. As for Aemond, his reputation changed overnight. No longer was he merely a prince or a rival. He became a kinslayer, a figure of dread, even among his allies. Some in King's Landing whispered that he had gone too far, that the death of a boy at the hands of a dragon would bring only ruin. But Aemond never flinched. He wore the title like armor. If anything, he relished it. Aemond's guilt, or lack of it. Did Aemond feel guilt? Some claim he did. Some say that in the quiet moments after the storm, he stared into the sea, haunted by the image of Luke's broken body. Perhaps he had only wanted to terrify him, and now he had a death to his name that even he had not anticipated. But others believe the opposite, that Aemond felt nothing at all. He was a Targaryen prince born of fire, raised in war. In his mind, Luke's death was not a tragedy. It was simply the way of the world. And if there was any remorse, it was buried beneath. And that is why history will always remember the night Aemond let Luke die at Storm's End. Because it was not just the death of a boy. It was the death of any hope for peace. And from that moment forward, only fire and blood would remain.